My name is Steve Newell, and I'm with Cloud Consult. I'm actually the founder and CEO of Cloud Consult. And last week, I was at the Great Lakes Teleservices Association meeting in Detroit, and I gave a presentation called Five Steps to Future-Proof Your Business. And a lot of people have asked me to share this presentation afterwards, and I figured I would go ahead and re-record the presentation so that you would not only be able to see the slides, but also I would be able to kind of fill in some of the blanks of the slides. So here we go. The agenda, what I covered and I'm going to cover is we're going to talk about contact centers and telephone answering services, how they're the same, how they're different, and basically a history and overview of both of them. We're going to talk about the perils facing the telephone answering service and how today really is a turning point for telephone answering services. And we're also going to talk about steps to future-proof your business. Now, at the conference, we talked a lot about AI, and so I thought it'd be interesting to see what AI says about TAS. So this is what they said. I just copied and pasted this right off the internet. It says answering services in the United States has declined from 20,000 to 800 since the late 1970s, and the percentage of businesses that telephone answering services serve has decreased by about 90%. And I think that we can all agree that the telephone answering service has been going through a decline in size for a long, long time. And so some of the challenges that AI says that we're facing in the answering service industry, low pay and high turnover rate with the staff, failure to invest in strategies to produce high quality service, cutting costs by compensating TSRs with minimum wages and benefits. And it says that answering services are still widely used for handling phone calls and enhancing customer support. They're used by law firms, professional services, to field calls from clients and prospects. And they're very much into medical, dentists and doctors' offices, scheduling appointments and contacting physicians, et cetera. So I thought that was very interesting. The key takeaways that I got from this is the actual sizes. We actually knew that the field has been shrinking for a long time, but 20,000 down to 800, that's a significant difference. So let's look at a little bit of history between the telephone answering service world and the contact center world. So the telephone answering service, as we all know, it got its start really earlier than contact centers and really was primarily focused on the medical clientele, taking messages, tracking down doctors throughout the town and letting them know that there was a crisis or an emergency or somebody was about to go into labor or whatever. So a lot of medical focus, and the dispatch part of telephone answering service is very, very significant. It's detailed, as you know. There is a tremendous amount of effort that the telephone answering service makes to get the messages to realtors and doctors and everyone else. And there's lots of overrides and all call schedules and escalations, and if this person doesn't pick up, then contact these other two people. And so to your credit, you have done it absolutely gone above and beyond as far as making sure that messages got to the correct people in a timely fashion, especially because so many of these messages are very, very urgent. In the contact center world, they really focused a lot on sales and support. And so primarily sales to begin with, catalog sales, calling up Sears and Roebuck and, ordering tools or ordering machines or, I don't know, clothing and towels and so on and so forth. So basically it's pretty simple. People will call in, you would take the order, you would communicate that order through the warehouse, they'd ship it out. Pretty straightforward. There's no follow-up, there's no dispatch, there's urgency, but there's not the kind of urgency that we see in the telefinancing service industry. And then, of course, support calls. They started, contact centers started taking support calls later on for technical support and for insurance claims and so on and so forth. So, and they started covering for other companies that needed call centers or contact centers, but did not want to pay for them. So they farmed them out to what's called BPOs, business process outsourcing. And so a lot of times when you're talking to your bank or you're talking to your insurance company, you're really talking to a BPO who is representing those companies. But again, you're taking orders, you're giving support, but you're really not doing a lot of dispatching, and the urgency is, again, much more on the telefinancing service side than the contact center side. Market size. Well, as the AI mentioned, the telefinancing service market size is about 800 answering services and totaling about 17,000 agents. And in the contact center world, just in the United States, not worldwide, but just in the United States, 42,000 and 3.3 million agents. So you can see that the market size is very, very different and dramatically different. And that's why you'll see all these contact center softwares companies, they won't invest in the telefinancing service world for two reasons mainly. One is the size. It's only 800 and it's shrinking versus 42,000, which is growing. And the other reason is because of the complexity of what the telefinancing service offers to their end users, and with the dispatch and so on. It would be incredibly difficult to reproduce the kind of sophisticated dispatch that the vendors in the TAS industry have developed over 40 years in a couple of months. It's very, very difficult. And so for those two reasons, you won't see a Genesis or a Five9s or a TalkDesk or whatever. No matter what the salesperson says, you'll never see those industries and their corporate structure agree to invest the kind of time and energy and money it would take to duplicate the TAS software as it is right now. Let's talk about investment. This is very, very interesting. In the TAS world, investment has been much more organic. So I make $600,000, $700,000, $1 million profit in a year. And so I take that $1 million and I reinvest it in the company in different ways, and most of it in developing more technology and so on. Now, in the contact center world, when they really want to develop new products, get into new markets and so on, they go ahead and they raise millions and millions of dollars. And they say, okay, we want to get into this market, or we want to develop this technology. And so they go ahead and they raise a lot of money, and then they go across the globe and they hire 100, 200 programmers, and they program 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all throughout the world. And they produce this software changes or developments or verticals in months rather than years. And look, there's a lot of risk to that. I mean, I'm not saying one is better or worse than the other. There's organic growth it's much more safe, it's much more stable. Investment, what if you get it wrong? What if you don't develop a great product? What if your product doesn't compete with the other products? Well, then you go under, and a lot of them do. I mean, there's a lot more churn in that contact center world than there is in the telefinancing service world. And so, but on the other hand, and we'll talk about this in the next point, let's talk about development. So in the telefinancing service world, we have legacy software that's started in the 80s and the 90s, and it's been built and developed over the years, but it's very much confined to the telefinancing service world and the hospital, the hospital field as well. In the contact center world, the technology that's being used today, all of it was born in the cloud. And they have what's called interoperability or interop. And interop has been this dream for the past 25 years where machines and software could talk to each other and coexist and work with each other. And that dream is, it's been a struggle, but it's pretty much been realized because a lot of these newer all the technology that's born in the cloud was born with what's called APIs. So they're designed to talk to other softwares. Um, I'll give you a little bit of an example, short story here. Way back when I was in New York, in 2000, I guess it was, I was selling my telephone systems, and my biggest competitors were at the time Lucent, which became Avaya, as you know, and Nortel. And we all had 586 features, which is really great to have that many features. The downside is that we all had the same features. So really, our our telephone platforms became a commodity. And so now everybody was competing on price. And so we had a company come in one time to pitch us. They wanted us to represent their product, and we said, okay, well, how many features do you have? And they said, well, we have 100 features, and of those 100 features, the first 10 of them were the digit one, the digit two, the digit three. So you get the idea. So they really only had 90 features. They didn't have voicemail. They couldn't transfer a call, that kind of thing. And so we said, well, why should we represent you? And they said, well, we do have, we transport our calls via voice over IP and voice over internet protocol. And we said, well, what is the advantages of that? And one of the big advantages of voice over IP is you're able to consolidate a lot of different offices and into one call center. And you're also able to handle the traffic and distribute traffic between a lot of different offices across the country and in a much less expensive way than you can with, a legacy platform that like I was selling. And that company, we kind of laughed them out of the thing because they were nowhere near ready for prime time. But that company that came in and visited us was called Cisco. And in just a couple of years, Nortel had filed for bankruptcy in 2004. Avaya, Lucent, which became Avaya, they've been in and out of bankruptcy since 2004. Mitel's doing fine, but Cisco basically took the lion's share of the market for many, many years. Now, here's the problem with Cisco. As well as great as a story as that is for Cisco, one of the things they decided to do is to not interoperate with other platforms. So they had voice over IP phones, but they didn't work on Avaya, they didn't work on Mitel, they didn't work on Nortel, they didn't work on anybody's. And so they kept everything very proprietary. And what happened was all these different companies that were born in the cloud, like Five9 and Genesis and TalkDesk and Nextiva and so on and so forth, they all were born in the cloud. They were born to be interop. And basically, via their APIs, they're able to connect with all kinds of different software and hardware. And so now Cisco is struggling because their market share is being taken over by these cloud-based platforms. And the changes that were made in the telecommunications field, the contact center world, they were all dramatic changes. In other words, people decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to design this and I'm going to get a bunch of programmers together, raise a bunch of money and do this. And they would make progress. They would leaps and bounds, huge, just go and leapfrog all the technology in front of them. And then the other one would leapfrog and the other one would leapfrog. And so in the contact center world, a change is very, very dramatic and versus in the telefinancing service world, changes are very, very incremental. You get tiny, tiny changes and additions and tweaks and so on and so forth. So big difference in development between the TAS world and the contact center world. And because of this interoperability, the legacy software in the telefinancing service world does not have interoperability. And so it will never be able to connect with these newer cloud platforms. It won't be able to connect with all the AI stuff that's out there. It won't be able to connect with all the omni-channel technology that's out there. And so the legacy software pretty much is what it is, and in the TAS world. Whereas the contact center world, there's things being added every single month, let alone year. Let's talk about acquisitions. This is another very interesting difference between the TAS world and the contact center world. In the telefinancing service world, a vendor will buy another vendor in order to get their customer base and hopefully flip that base to their product. And it's happened. I mean, we've all seen it. You know, Amtelco and StarTel acquired a couple of the other vendors, and but in the contact center world, nobody does that. You know, a five nines will not try to buy a talk desk because their technology is pretty much the same. Basically, what they would do is they go and they look for emerging technologies, and they say, "Oh, look at this virtual assistant that this small company is building. It's really, really wonderful." They go ahead and they either buy that company or they make an agreement with that company to use their software, and then they basically white label it and skin it inside of their technology. And so any kind of acquisitions made in the contact center world is strictly to advance their technology. It's strictly to add features and functionality and technological advances to their product. They do not acquire for customer base. And so the difference that presents is that, you know, when you acquire other companies for their customer base, you know, you can't join those softwares together. That's never ever happened. You can maybe reprogram some of the stuff that they've done in your platform, but really there's no connecting, there's no development, there's no interoperability. So it doesn't advance the technology is what I'm saying. Let's look at the channels between the differences between TAS and contact center as far as channels. In the telefinancing service world, it's mainly voice, a little bit of omni-channel, maybe a little bit of web chat. If you get a third-party web chat, a little bit of email handling and so on and so forth. Whereas in the contact center world, it's voice, but it's also omni-channel. It's web chat, IVRs, inbound IVRs, outbound IVRs, video, social media coverage, outbound dialers, virtual agents, AI virtual agents. So it's got all these different channels that they make available to their customers to reach them. And so it's much more flexible. Let's talk about end clients. Well, all the end clients are getting younger. So, well, let's look at, I'm sorry, we skipped labor there for a second. So labor is a major concern in both the TAS world and the contact center world. Fewer people want to work. Those people who do want to work, you train them and they don't make it through training. So you spend a whole lot of money on training and then, you know, you lose half your class or 3/4 of your class. And then, of course, the wages are rising. So labor has always been the most costly part of a contact center and a telefinancing service. And so that continues to be the case. And it's a major concern for both the telefinancing service world and the contact center world. And let's look at the end clients. So the end clients are getting younger. And we'll look at a slide in a second about that. And the future of TAS, well, it's shrinking. It's been shrinking since the 1970s. It's continuing to shrink. And the contact center world is expanding, not just here in the US, but obviously across the whole world. Um, so let's look at another slide here, and let's look at who we're going to be serving in the next 1, 3, 5 years. So Generation Z, so we're talking people born between 97 and 2012. Their ages 12 to 27. Here's their preference. They would prefer to reach out to a contact center through digital channels. 90% of them would prefer digital channels, and only 10% would prefer to use voice to reach out to a contact center. You look at the millennials, those are your 28 to 43-year-olds, that's the sweet spot for marketing and so on and so forth. 16% of them would prefer voice, and 84% of them would prefer to reach out to a contact center via any of the digital channels, SMS, um, web chat, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. That's what they want to use. Gen X. So you're talking between the years 65 and 1980, 44 years old to 59 years old. It's about split even down the middle there. It's 49% for voice and 51% for digital. And only the boomers, those that are between 60 and 78 years old, 60% of them prefer to reach out via voice and 40% via digital. So as the boomers continue to age out and the Gen Zers and the millennials, continue to become a larger and larger part of the market, you can see that being able to meet them in any of the digital channels and serve them in the digital channels is going to become increasingly important. So um, that's a very important um, consideration when you're looking at where is my company going to be in the next 1, 3, 5 years. So what does history tell us about the future? Well, the investment and development gap between legacy platforms in the telefinancing service world and the cloud-based systems will continue to widen. So there's the 18-month rule, which we all know, every 18-month technology, the speed of um, the software doubles every 18 months, and also the ability for us to increase storage increases every 18 months, which is all about AI. We've had AI for 40 years, but because we're able to process things every 18 months, it gets twice as fast. And because we're able to store the incredibly huge amounts of data that AI needs to make all the decisions that it's making and give the outputs, those two things together are why we see AI just going like this, because now that the storage and the processing power is increasing so rapidly, it really plays into making AI now something that is very, very valuable. And the costs have come down dramatically because of the 18-month rule as far as storage and processing power. Integration to higher level technology, in other words, interoperability, will continue to be difficult for TAS. Listen, TAS is never going to be able to connect to all this wonderful software that's out there. The omni-channel software, in and outbound SMS, the IVRs, the AI products, the virtual agents, the AI virtual agents, it'll never be able to connect with it. So it's not going to happen. So it's not going to continue to be difficult. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. Labor costs and availability will continue to be a headache. So if we're not shifting more of our call processing and interaction processing to channels that we're able to handle those transactions via technology rather than humans, that the labor cost and the availability of labor is going to become an increasingly bigger and bigger problem for us and a bigger expense for us. Also, the people that we serve, are going to require more and different channels as people age up and age out. Okay, so we've all seen this, this Chinese character that supposedly means it means two things. It can mean opportunity, it can mean danger, and it can mean opportunity. Well, that's not. Uh, President Kennedy made that talked about in a speech one time, and it's stuck. That's not exactly what this character means. This character means crisis, and it also means a point of inflection. In other words, there's a crisis going on, and you've got decisions to make, and you've got to make them really fast. And you got to make them right now because things are headed south, like they're headed south fast. And if you don't pivot quickly and make the right decision about how you're going to pivot, where you're going to pivot to, et cetera, it's not going to be good. There's a Chinese proverb about this. It says, a crisis is an opportunity riding a dangerous wind. And that's where Taz is now. If your telefinancing service is primarily a voice, channel, telefinancing service, well, if you offer voice and he offers voice and I offer voice and they offer voice, then voice becomes a commodity just as much as the telephone system that I was selling back in 2000 became a commodity because we all had the same thing. And so we all had to lower our prices and give big discounts in order to get the deal. And so because a voice is a commodity, you'll continue to see a lot of churn as people just leave you and go to somebody else for a better price or because one bad thing happened. We need to become much more diverse and we need to become much more profitable because we're so heavy with the labor that it's almost impossible to increase profitability. And by the way, let's say you have a goal to increase revenue by 20%. Well, if I'm a voice only shop, then I'm going to have to find 20% more reliable labor in order to make that goal. And that's increasingly difficult. So how am I going to grow my revenue? Number three, labor costs. Labor is difficult to find and the costs are rising. We've talked about that. Number four, we're overwhelmed with technology. Okay. Not only are we overwhelmed with technology, but we're stuck because the technology that we have won't enable us to exploit omni-channel, AI, agentless channels that can be more profitable. It won't enable us to expand into different markets. And so there's a lot of frustration there. Limited technology options to increase revenue, which we just talked about. There's the rise of the virtual agents. At the GLTSA show, we had a presentation on AI before I spoke, and we showed a video of a conversation between somebody calling up one of these virtual agents. It's impressive. It's really impressive. I mean, it's here. It's not coming. It's here and it's been here. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to steal, a lot of our revenue. And of course, the channel engagement, because of the age of the people that's rising, the channel engagement is going to be changing. We need to have more channels. We need to add channels to the voice channels that we're supporting right now. Okay, so let's talk about the future. 5 steps to prepare for the future. Number one, go to contact center shows. And I want to talk about this for a second. Let's stop calling ourselves call centers. A call center is a center that only has the voice channel. A contact center has voice and any other channels or many other channels, let's say. And so we want to start calling ourselves and we want to become contact centers. So let's get rid of call centers and let's talk about contact centers. But let's go to contact center shows because when you go there, we'll talk about this a little bit more, you will learn a tremendous amount. We need to create alliances with smart folks that are in the contact centers. We need to hire from the contact center world. There's no reason that we have to master AI, we have to master omni-channel, we have to master in and outbound IVRs. There are people out there who are extremely comfortable with that. We can hire them, we can bring them in, and they can help us basically level up to all those technologies. We need to invest in a revenue platform. And we need to make a goal of in the next 24 months, I'm going to add 8 new verticals and basically completely transform my business. So let's break this down a little bit more. So contact center shows. So the reason you want to go to contact center shows, I can't underestimate the impact it'll be when you go down aisle, table after table after table after table, and they're all talking about AI, and they're giving you live demonstrations. They're not showing you videos. They're saying, call this phone number and have a conversation with it. You'll go down, you'll see 15 tables, and 10 of them will invite you to do that. And when you do that, you're going to start understanding that, wow, what I thought AI was, if I go to, the NAE show or the Snug show or the ATSI show or CAMEX or Glitz or whatever, and we talk about AI, it's like, it's at this level here. But when you go to these contact center shows, it's much more powerful by a magnitude of 100. It really is. And I can only tell you to go. Because when you go, then you'll come back and you'll know what I mean. You'll be so excited by the technology that's out there right now and the opportunities that'll open up for you. And here's some of the shows. There's the Contact Center Expo in Vegas, and that's usually in May. I can actually get you free tickets to that because of my relationship with the two technology marketplaces that I'm a part of. A lot of them will go to this show and they want to invite people to buy, and so they say, hey, we'll give your people free tickets, and so all you have to do is get to Vegas and get a room. And when you go to these shows, you're going to want to, really go to the show. You're going to be, it opens up at 9 o'clock, be there at 8:45. It closes at 4. Walk the floor. Then when you get tired, go into the back. There's a big area for people to sit down and have lunch or have a cup of coffee. Sit down next to people, make a friend, start a conversation, start to get to know some of these other people. It's a great show. The other thing that they have is they have 4 different stations around the room, and they'll have a half an hour presentation. They'll have 4 presentations going on at the same time. They last 30 minutes. Then there's a 15-minute break. Then there's 4 other presentations. Then there's a 15-minute break. Then there's 4 other presentations. So you can split your time between going to these really amazing presentations. And look, I know that they're talking about their own software and how wonderful it is and so on and so forth. But you will learn a lot. You really will learn a lot by going to these presentations. So you spend your time going to these presentations, going to the tables, going to the lunch area and talking to people. And I'm telling you, it'll change. It'll be life-changing for sure. Another show, the Hospital and Contact Center Times, HCCT, that's going to be Atlanta in mid-June. That is exclusively for hospital contact centers. So it's much more on healthcare, and that costs about $1,000, no free tickets. And but these people who are giving the presentations, the people who are there, they're very serious, they're very smart, they're very professional. You will learn a lot by going to that show, and you'll learn a lot about technology as well, because they're all pushing technology because they have to. Their profitability depends on them becoming more and more efficient every single year. So they will teach you a lot. Contact Center World, CCW, that's another great show. There's a cost to that. You'll have to look that up. There's also local tech groups that you can join and visit and so on and so forth. Number 2, you need to form alliances. Well, where do I find these alliances? Well, at the shows. And I know we say that, and it's true, that in the telefinancing service world, people are really friendly, they're willing to share, and so on and so forth. Well, it's the same way out in the contact center world. Trust me, you're going to find a lot of alliances. You're going to find a lot of people that if you ask for help, they'll give you help. I mean, you can ask them pricing questions. Hey, how much will customers pay for web chat? How much will they pay for, you know, uh, employee check-in lines? How much will they pay for this? How much would you charge? How about marketing advice? How do I start marketing these new channels to my current base and to a new base? What would your advice be? They'll tell you. They're very open. You can ask them about hiring, what kind of people that you should be hiring, what skills you should be bringing into your business, what kind of experience should I look for? You sit down at lunch you keep going back and you just go from table to table and open up your mouth and bring a big stack of business cards and talk and talk and talk. And I'm telling you, you will get a lot of ideas from these shows and create a lot of alliances. The third thing is you want to hire from contact centers. If you hire from somebody who's worked in a contact center for a couple of years, you're hiring somebody that's familiar with all these different, web chat channels and SMS channels and email channels and IVR channels. And so they're familiar with it. You don't have to learn this all on your own. You can hire people with these skills. They're familiar with how to market it. They're familiar with what kind of prices you can ask for. They're comfortable with AI. They're comfortable with bots. You don't have to become the expert. You just hire these people. And how do you find them? Well, ask at the tech shows. Or go get on LinkedIn and start asking questions. Turn to the people that you've made alliances with in the contact center world. But I would definitely suggest getting some new blood, some different blood from contact centers into your contact center. Number four, invest in a revenue platform. Well, what is a revenue platform and why should I invest in it? Okay. A revenue platform, frankly, is that's just a name that I completely made up out of the air. I call it a revenue platform. What I'm talking about a cloud-based system that has interoperability with anything else, any of the CRMs out there, Salesforce and everything, and has all these different channels, voice channels, SMS, email, web chat, video, IVRs, social media coverage, virtual agents, AI translation, both voice translation and translation in the digital channels, web chat and SMS and so on. All the AI tools. That's what I'm talking about. They're cloud-based, they're built on APIs, they're interoperability able. There's a low platform cost, and basically you pay for usage. You don't have to use it all at the same time. You just get it, and then you start rolling out. You start using tool after tool after tool until you're using all the tools or most of the tools. Why invest in a revenue platform? Well, it's born in the cloud. It's going to integrate with all the emerging technologies that are here or coming, and it's going to stay current. You're also taking advantage of the fact that there's hundreds and thousands of very, very pushy clients who are pushing these technology companies that have the revenue platforms. They're pushing them to develop all kinds of different things to meet the needs of their clients. And so you're going to be able to take advantage of them. So once you're on one of these revenue platforms, you're caught up and you're going to continue being caught up. They have rapid development. Again, if they see a need in the market or desire in the market, they raise some money and they get a bunch of programmers and they knock it out. It's very urgent. Why should you invest in a revenue platform? Because you've got to get into additional channels right now. I mean, really, these channels have been serving clients for the last 10 years. And so it's beyond time for you to get into these channels and start making money from these channels and start diversifying so that you are viable and profitable and flourishing in the next 5, 10 years. The other reason, number five, there's a lot of agentless campaigns that you can do, which will and people say, well, if it's just, automation, then I don't want to pay, I want to pay lower amount. Go ahead, charge them lower because, your profitability is going to be so high when you take the labor factor out of it that even if your revenue goes down a little bit, your profitability is going to go way, way up. And again, you won't have to hire as many people. And again, number six, the labor issues, hiring, training, managing, paying agents, that will be diminished or ameliorated when you start bringing on agentless campaigns. So that's why you want to bring on a revenue platform. Now, this revenue platform is going to sit next to your StarTel. It's going to sit next to your telco. It's never going to connect. It's never going to connect. You're going to have to, print out reports in order to do billing on the revenue platform, and you're going to have, print out your information from your Intelco and StarTel to bill. Sorry, but they're never going to integrate. Okay, so don't even waste any time thinking about, wouldn't it be nice? It's not going to happen. With revenue platforms, let's look at some of the things you can get. So omni-channel, email and SMS. So it's two-way email, two-way SMS. So you're handling inbound SMSs, inbound emails. You're sending out outbound SMS campaigns for marketing, for appointment reminders, for mass notification. The parking lot B is being paved this week. Use parking lot A and B, A and C, whatever. You can do surveys. You can send surveys out via email and SMS. And all these things, obviously, when you send them out, you can report on it. I sent out 500, I reached 497. These 3 failed. These people said yes. These people said no. These people, replied to the appointment reminder and said, I'm coming. These people said, I want to reschedule, whatever. These people responded to the surveys. So you can print up reports and have them auto sent to your client. Those channels can be multi-language because remember, you have translation tools that can be applied to these digital channels. So you can automatically, and we're not talking about, Spanish and French. We're talking about like 160 different languages are available. Some of them have 160, some of them have 125, some of them have 116, whatever. They have a lot. So now you'll notice these little red asterisks next to all these. That means it's an agentless campaign. So you can do all these things without the agent intervention. So your back end people will be loading these and setting up the reports and so on and so forth. But by far, this is going to be very, very profitable. CRM and integration. So your CRM experience is going to be greatly expanded. Listen, all of these different revenue platforms that I'm talking about, every single sale that they make, their end customer is asking, hey, I need to, integrate with, Salesforce and Sugar and, all these different proprietary CRMs and softwares and so on and so forth. That's all they do all day long is do CRM integrations. If you come to them and say, hey, can I integrate with this or that? It's like, yes, yes, yes. And I have 100 people. I've done it 50 times. I've done it 60 times. I've done it 100 times. Now it's going to cost professional services because you have to tweak, because every CRM is going to be set up, a little bit differently. But they have all the experience in the world in this. And when you have that CRM integration, now you're saving money because you're only using 1 license instead of 5 licenses. You're not having to train everybody in every single CRM because you're drawing the information out, you're putting it into your message slip, and all your agent has to do is follow the bouncing ball, and they're going to be able to navigate through that through that transaction. And then at the end, this is the best part. You can have your AI tools do an AI summary of the call. So it's listening to the call, and then it's summarizing everything, and that summary is pushed back into the CRM. So even if, whether Tom, Dick, or Harry takes the phone call, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the week, this AI summary tool is going to be summarizing it, and you can basically make a template. Here's how I want you to do it, AI. I want you to do, a subject and a subject and a subheading, and this is the information I want you to put into the summary, and this is how long or short I want it to be, and then you push it to the CRM. So imagine at your customer end, if they're reading all these notes, it's not this big disparity whether Tom, Dick, or Harry took the call. It's a consistent summary every single time, which is a great product. So you're not going to lose that customer. In and outbound IVRs and dialers. So employee check-in lines, they're hugely profitable. I was on a call with one of my partners who also is a broker, and he's out there, in contact centers and so on and so forth. He sold a deal to a hospital, and the hospital is paying $200,000 a month for their employee check-in lines for their nurses. And I mean, it's a big hospital complex, and they're happy to pay $200,000, and because it saves them an incredible amount of money. And these employee check-in lines, you can set them up through IVRs. They go to databases, they do lookups to confirm who it is. They bring the information back. It's incredible. You can make a lot of money. I forgot to put a red asterisk, because that is agentless as well. You can do sales and lead lists. Somebody gives you a lead list, you plug it into your dialer, it dials out, hands the call over to your person. Hey, I heard you signed up for a new sale or whatever, and then you set the appointment and whatnot. So these dialers are incredibly efficient in helping you blow through a bunch of sales leads. Appointment reminders, mass notification, surveys. Again, same thing as with the omni-channel email and SMS. You can do the same thing, appointment reminders and so on through IVRs. The last thing I want to talk about is web chat. These web chats, you can create bots to automatically, do lookups. Hey, where's my package? Okay, give me your email address and last, and your the first, digits of your address, whatever, some verification information. Goes and does a lookup, brings back the information, maybe even gives you a little link to click to see, it's on the UPS truck, and it's already been shipped, and this is what the UPS number is. You can click this and look it up. Incredibly efficient, and customer satisfaction is very high with bots. You can send the calls to an agent if you just want to gather some information and then bring an agent in to save the agent time. You can pop a script inside of the agent is an omni-channel experience, and he always has the ability to click on something on the side, which will pop up the exact same script that a agent who's taken a voice call would get. And so they can basically navigate their way through a script just as much as just like a voice agent. So you have all that ability with a revenue platform. So let's talk about 8 verticals in 24 months. And this is just, I'm just spitballing here. I'm just, giving you some examples of how you can transform your business in 2 years. So just say January, February, March of 2025. Just say you got this platform and you got familiar with it in, November, December, and in January, February, March, you said, I'm going to go after all my medical practices, and I'm going to offer them to use the omni-channel SMS and email and outbound dialing for appointment reminder campaigns. And you just push that for 3 months, and you mastered it. You got it running smooth, and You got everything, it's going great. Okay. So now you got that going. And then in April, May, and June, just say you focus on HVAC accounts and you say, okay, I'm going to use the same Omni SMS, email, and outbound dialing. But instead of doing appointment reminders with it, I'm going to do marketing campaigns and I'm going to do surveys with for all my HVAC accounts. So I'm going to say, hey, it's April, May, summer's coming up. We can we can check up on your HVAC for, for $89. And of course that creates revenue for them. And it also will possibly prevent some people breaking down in the middle of the summer when it gets really hot. So you do that for 3 months. So now you got two things going, okay? And then in July, August, and September, just say you say, I'm going to focus on property management accounts. I'm going to use inbound IVRs where people can call in and say, I have a problem with my air conditioning, I have a problem with my plumbing, whatever. Or they can do service requests through the IVR, through web chat, through SMS, and basically any way that they come in, it'll go through an IVR or go through a process where it'll say, okay, what are you calling about? Are you calling about this, or this? Oh, I'm calling about this. Okay, well, is this, or this? Well, it's about that. Okay, so, tell us more about the problem. Well, this is the third time I've called, blah, blah, blah. And so basically all that information gets taken, gets put into a message slip. Then the system's going to do a lookup and see who's on call. And it'll say, okay, so-and-so is on call for this company. And so it'll auto send that SMS or email with all that information from the IVR or the web chat or the SMS, and it's done. And so you haven't used any agents, and you've gathered the exact same information. You report on the exact same thing. You've sent you've sent it out to the on-call schedule person, and you can escalate it. So if nobody responds within 5 minutes, you go through an escalation and so on and so forth. So all that is doable, and again, you're going to be saving a lot of labor costs, and you're going to give them the ability to come in. You're going to give your property management customers the ability to come in and put in a service request the way they want to do it. They want to do an SMS because they're at work. They don't want to pick up the phone. So, okay, so you're moving on now. October, November, December of 2025. Now I'm going to get into AI translation. And, I've got this revenue platform. I can do 125 plus, languages. It can auto detect what language I should be speaking. And so you can do AI powered language translation services for phone calls, for emails, SMS, web chat. So now you roll that out. Now you have that tool. Now you can start marketing that into your current base and into prospects. So now you've got four things going on. You've got medical practices with the appointment reminders. You've got marketing campaigns. You've got using IVRs, web chats, and SMS to handle service requests. Now you've got AI translation. Then you move on to next year, employee check-in lines. So you create these IVRs, you hook them up to databases, and you do the lookups. You dispatch, an update to staff. So-and-so is going to be sick today. You can create and auto send reports at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, whatever. So you master that. And then the next thing you go, I'm going to start on inbound email processing. So my customers want me to handle their inbound emails. Okay, I can use the omni-channel email. I can use bots to see if this is, something that needs to be escalated. If I can respond just with maybe I just need to archive it. Or maybe it's a common request and I can respond with an auto message, and then I can involve an agent if I want to. So same thing, you can do lookups and call text, dispatch, you can create reports, etc. So now I'm working on my inbound email processing. Then you move on to social media coverage. That's going to become bigger and bigger. So, hey, would you like me to handle your Facebook, your Twitter account, your whatever, any of the social media that you're involved in? I can have FAQs ready so that when somebody says something, they have a complaint, I can send something out, give them a 5% discount, send them a coupon, blah, blah, blah. Stay on top of your social media for you. Then after that, maybe it's time to start working on rolling out AI virtual agents. And so you identify some accounts that you think, okay, this is an account that doesn't need live answer. And so I'm going to start rolling out and getting familiar with it and getting comfortable with it. And so now in a space of 24 months, I've gotten appointment reminders, marketing campaigns. Um, uh, I've shifted a lot of my traffic or some of my traffic away from agents and onto different channels. I've introduced AI translation. I've got inbound IVRs for employee check-in lines and all kinds of different things. I've got inbound email processing, and I'm mastering that and taking that away from or liberating some of my agents from having to stare at an Outlook inbox. Now I've added social media coverage. I've added virtual agents. Your business is completely transformed in 24 months with a revenue platform. So to close here, what's the next 18 to 36 months look like? Well, we know that technology will have doubled and then doubled again in those 36 months. And so we know technology will double in 18 months and again in 36 months, as I said. We know we've got about 800 different telefinancing services in North America, approximately, and probably 5% of them right now are using full Omni, AI, IVRs, outbound dialing, bots, virtual agents, agentless solutions. So probably about 40 of the 800. In the next 18 to 36 months, I see about 50 different telefinancing services adopting all these tools that we've been talking about. And what's going to happen is those 50 TAS sites are going to separate themselves from the TAS sites that offer just voice or predominantly voice. And the TAS sites that don't adapt and adopt all these different channels will now be competing for that voice traffic, which has become commoditized. So churn will remain high and prices will remain low for sites that are just going to offer voice channels and not offer any of the other channels. So that's my take on what the future looks like and what are the 5 ways to future-proof your business. Start going to these shows, start getting alliances with contact center people outside of the TAS world, start hiring from the contact center world, and get yourself invest in a revenue platform, and create a plan where over the next 2 years you roll out these different tools into your different verticals, one after another, after another, after another, until you are you spread out your coverage of all these different channels. You've reduced your labor, and you've increased and basically you've made yourself more valuable to your customers. So the churn will go down because you're not only covering their phones, but you're also covering their inbound email. You're also covering their social channels, and you can offer them all these other different things. Whether they're using it right now or not, you can offer it to them. And so it's going to be much harder for them to leave if they know they can get all this stuff in the future and they have all this stuff in the present. So I hope this has helped. And if you want to find out more, you can call me at 805-410-0582, or you can click my schedule link at any one of my emails has my schedule link. You can click the schedule link and schedule an appointment with me. And I'm glad to talk more about this if you like. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon, and have a great day.